Hey, welcome to the CCW Safe Podcast. I'm Rob Hott, your host here in Oklahoma City, and have some special guests with us today. You guys are coming to us from Virginia, is that correct?
That is correct. Yes, Williamsburg, Virginia.
How do you say your last name, Joseph? This is Joseph and his lovely bride, Jessica.
And our last name is Hazelaar.
Hazelaar. I would have messed that up grandly.
That's all right.
Had the privilege to get introduced to you out at SHOT Show. I was hanging out with the production manager and the owner and the marketing rep from Flashbang Holsters, and they spoke very highly of you guys. I've since actually checked out your stuff. Make a really nice product. But how did you guys come along? How did you work your way into this business? What was the background? What was the story there?
Well, the quick, I'll try to keep it within a couple minutes, is we've been in business now for about 10 plus years as far as business. Me and her were born and raised in Alaska, fell in love there, got married when we were 18, so on and so forth. I actually joined the military and became a state trooper. And so that's really what sort of probably thrust us into the firearms world of sort of being around there, obviously being a state trooper and things like that. And for the most part, we had 4 kids, and we didn't, for a wife, she didn't really have too much desire to even really be around guns that much. Besides, she knew that I was in law enforcement, but she didn't really have this passion like what you see in the last 10 or 11 years of this passion for concealed carry and how that's obviously bloomed into a business. Until our kids started to get a little bit older, and then like what some moms do, or even other people, you start to feel a little bit questionable, in the country of like safety, and so you start wondering, man, if this were to happen, would I be prepared? And so you start asking those questions. And I remember her coming to me and saying, never really wanted to know, but I think it's time I learn, like, if anything, that I could protect myself, and that what is the gun always, is it going to fire? What is this little button over here? What is this thing? All those real simple questions of curiosity. And that's really what drove her as far as her passion into getting in the concealed carry market. So what does the guy do, or the husband do, as soon as he sees that the wife is semi-interested in whatever he's into? He like immediately goes down to the gun store. And luckily, I didn't go buy her some Desert Eagle 45, 50 cal gun like most guys do, thinking that this is going to be a great addition to my own arsenal and I'm going to hand it to this girl. And instead, I bought a gun that was on brand new to the market. It was a Smith & Wesson M&P Shield, and a little single stack, fit her hand just perfectly, and it was a gun specifically made for her, and we got it. And again, probably what most people don't do is they never really see these new guns come to market, and you never once scratch your head and say, are there accessories that go with it, like a holster? And at the time, there were no holsters on the market for this brand new gun, and we're a little bit perplexed. And so I'm married to probably one of the most incredible women out there, because she doesn't like to be told no, and she really wanted to shoot this thing. And so she immediately starts pouring into the internet and YouTube, and where can I find this thing? And she found one company out of like maybe Montana that said that they could build a holster for her out of this material called kydex. Never even heard of it before. And anyways, because of that, and the guy said, oh, it's going to take 3 or 4 months to build, she was like, I can't wait that long. So she went to YouTube and sort of self-taught herself how to make a holster. And it was merely just so that she can go shoot it at the range. And so I still remember her coming to me, and she's like, hey, I have to buy all these parts and pieces, and getting shipping all the way up to Alaska. I bet we sort of joke about it.
It was $1,000.
Yeah, I bet we sort of joke because it was $1,000 holster. Or she needed the material and the screws and the eyelets and all these different little things and some of the tools that were needed to be able to do it. But she was really sort of passionate about, like, I really want to make this thing. It's going to be really neat. And so, being a good husband, yes, dear, right? And sure enough, she shipped those products up there. I always sort of make the joke of like she went down into the dungeon, you know, if like you're working on Frankenstein or something like that, because that was the creation that she created. Her first one was it came up and it was just this ugly looking thing. It held the gun just fine, but as you can imagine, the first time you're building something, you know, it's just this ugly creation or something. And all these things that you don't even think about in the building process of like, man, I can't even get my gun out, you know, and you have to like, you know, figure all these things that fast forward 10 years in a holster business, those are all the nuances that you get in a perfected product, right? Is all those mistakes and things like that. And so anyway, she made that first holster and then she went back down and made another one and refined her process. And to the point where pretty soon I was like, man, I want one for myself. And so then even for myself now wearing it to work and things like that, other troopers, other people in law enforcement said, whatever that is, I want one. And that sort of sprung forward what the sort of our quote to fame today, which is you just sort of fail your way to success. And we didn't know how to do a business. We just said, man, if I can sell 100 completed holsters to strangers, we'll go out and get a business license. And so there was literally, we created a little thermostat with like coloring crayons from like 0 to 100. And I think it took us like over a year to sell to complete strangers and it was really like just word of mouth and on Facebook or eBay and just sort of selling to complete strangers. And then we did it. And so then we're like, okay, we're gonna turn this into a business, got a business license, and then just one little pivot from there to the next. Fast forward, here we are 10 years later, still in business. So
is that what carried you guys from Alaska to Virginia?
no, I would say from a business standpoint, we never really, so if you can imagine the first, say, 5 years of the business was a great little hobby, so to speak. Even though we called it a business, it wasn't really what we refer to now as being like a very healthy business that was, you had income and it was consistent and employees and things like that. And so it was very highs and lows to where it wasn't at the point of that 0 to 5 to where I was able to quit and go all in on that. And so what actually brought us over to the East Coast was sort of our desire to leave Alaska since we were first got married. And so I had an opportunity with the wars that were going on to come over here and work for government agencies and do that. So we got to move out of the cold Alaska, came here, and in the midst of that, I might be over in Syria or wherever it would be, and we'd be talking back and forth about, okay, well, what's this, you know, and things like that. Well, she was there literally sort of grinding away, you know, sometimes 3 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, while still managing 4 kids. And I remember it was back in 2015 or 16.
It's been 5 years.
So it's
It's been 6 years, maybe.
Okay.
That you quit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May 1st, I think 6 years ago, we sort of came to a head, and I always tell this to other entrepreneurs, especially they're doing these little side hustles. At some point, it's going to come to this crossroads where both are basically consuming 40 hours of your time, right? So now all of a sudden you're working 80 hours a week and you're sort of torn on which one or the other, because it's starting to basically erode, you know, your family structure. It's maybe eroding your marriage. It's eroding
I'll wait for them to try to see if they can come back in.
All right, sorry for that interruption. So we had just crossed this sort of 80-hour, 40 hours in each sort of genre, as you're trying to, because so many entrepreneurs out there are trying to do this sort of side hustle, which is really what America's sort of built on, of all these businesses that you drive by every single day, and you sort of, or even some of the big buildings, you wonder, how did they get started in that? And very rarely, unless maybe in the last 20 or 30 years, where you start seeing these people that are getting financing or going out there and collecting these huge sums of money to start businesses. Most of them sort of went down the same path that mine and Jessica's did. So back in 2016, took a leap of faith, and I said, you know what? I still remember it. It's so scary. And I said, I'm quitting May 1st, and put in my letter of resignation. And at the same time that I put in my letter of resignation, I went, and we didn't even have a payroll system at that time. We hadn't even been taking our own payroll. We were paying employees, but just sort of like running everything else, just sort of skimming off the top of like, oh, we're gonna go out to dinner tonight or things like that. So I remember I had to research and find a payroll company, found it, and I entered into payroll basically the same amount of money that I was currently getting paid for my career, and it was going to be direct deposited 2 weeks from the day that I was resigning. And the funny thing is there wasn't that amount of money inside there when I had set that up. And so here I had 14 days to hustle, and not, I shouldn't say I hustle, we hustled. And from that point on all the way through to today, we've never missed a payroll. Somehow 14 days later, that direct deposit ended up hitting, and we woke up every single morning scared to death. Yeah, like something was chasing us. And I tell you, that is really, if I can give anybody true advice, that is really what transformed us, of really sort of having a hobby into an actual business. And it started to govern how we made decisions. It had to transform the way that we had vision, all those little things. Without having the safety net of having this other career out there was really pivotal as far as in our trajectory. And so, as you know, from 2016 and beyond, that's where we both really start to look at ourselves and go, wow, we're business owners, because that's truly when we stepped into that space of owning our own business and running it.
It was definitely 2018.
Was it?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
sorry.
not that it mattered.
It's all a blur.
Yeah.
That is so typical though of so many guys that have jumped in and built from the ground up. And to finally really take that leap of faith. I mean, I know guys that have gone without money, you know, it's like I can pay my employees, but
Yeah.
it has to bite the bullet because I got to keep them.
Yeah. We've done
That was us for a lot of years.
We've done that plenty of times throughout as well. Yeah.
I bet 2020 is when I finally was taking a paycheck.
Mhm.
So 7 years in, I finally, we made sure he had one, which paid for all of us anyways, but yeah, I don't think I had one written to myself till 3 years ago.
That's crazy. Do you still have a prototype, your first?
I do.
We do.
Yeah, I have a whole pile of stuff here. This is definitely not it. I guess it's
But yes, we do have it. We call it in our little museum. If anything, we pull it out to show other holster makers.
Yeah.
And even, you know, from a business standpoint, but it's really refreshing to sort of look at where you came from and where you're at today. But to really sort of honor new holster makers that are coming into the market and never bash them, because we all start at the same point. And it's this state. I mean, we always call it like we're just further in the tunnel than somebody else is. We're 10 years deeper in the tunnel, but we all are on the same road, the same direction. And so it's interesting, all the different new holster makers that we come across. It's almost like you could chart it, like, oh, year 1, year 2, year 3, and all the things that are important to them, things that they let go in year 2, the things that change in year 3, so on and so forth. We went on that exact same path in the first 10 years into it. So the first holster, we still have it, and it still holds the gun really, really well. And actually, we've shown it to many people, and they don't immediately even notice much of a difference. Although as holster makers, you can just pick stuff right away. But I don't even know if I posted a picture, if it would be significant to a lot of people that saw it. They'd be like, oh, that's a cool holster. But it's just amazing, the progression of what we've learned, even fine tuning the process, you know, more than probably anything. So
that's such a cool deal. I know when Lisa had done that very first holster, and it was one of those that it was just for her. It wasn't a business. It was this is a way that I can carry. And she was at one of the local gun shops in Oklahoma City, and they were having a big training day, and John and Vicky Farnham were there, and she was already acquainted. They were already friends, but Vicky comes up to her and just grabs her and is like, I hear you did this thing. And Lisa's like, wow. And she was like, I want to see it. Do you have it around? She was like, I'm wearing it. And she was like, in the bathroom.
Yeah.
You go to the bathroom and Lisa shows her how it functions and does all the stuff. Vicky took it off of her.
That's great.
Vicky took the first one. She's since given it back, but I just thought it was such a cool story.
Yeah, pretty similar. We did not, I think we accidentally made a business
Yeah.
because we definitely did not mean to. And then out of that grew our second business, which we also didn't mean to do. Not to say, oh, it just was so easy, but we weren't like setting out as two business people thinking, how can we make a business?
Yeah.
We probably would have done, they're a lot smarter than we are. Everything we have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
Yeah.
the American way. That is cool. The thing that bothers me is and it happens in all kinds of little areas of this industry, whether it's empty hand or less lethal or firearms or holsters or other gear in general, is that this thing is so huge, is that there's more than enough pieces of the pie for everybody. And it's also a really, really incredibly small community in the way that, I don't get along with Jessica, and I kind of burn a bridge there. And then all of a sudden it circles back and, guess who I need? I need Jessica.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right.
You can't do those things. And there are, they're not incredibly common, but you guys have experienced it for yourself. There's people out there that will, snake their way in and steal your own designs and products and things or market like, your stuff is theirs. We had a competitor once that used a member of CCW Safe that we had defended in a murder trial. And then they did this big, huge ad campaign with him.
Okay.
Not permission, but it was like, if this guy hadn't had, a self-defense legal coverage, he would be serving the rest of his life in prison.
Yeah.
And it was like, yeah, but it has nothing to do with you. We're the one that put in work. We're the one that did it all. So,
Right.
It's for as many thousands and thousands and thousands of remarkably good people, you're always going to find that little nit in there that wants to cheat and take the shortcut or stab to make it $1. Here, I'll give you the $1.
Yeah.
How many?
That's humanity, sadly.
Yes.
Yeah.
How many different holsters do you guys do? How many designs of holsters do you do? And then how many firearms do you cover?
Well, we have inside and outside the waistband holster styles.
Okay.
For our inside the waistband, it's really one holster style, one mold cut, but we put different attachments on it, which can function different ways for the person that's wearing it. So we have one that's built for appendix style with the appendix wing, one that comes with the ulti clip where you don't have to wear a belt. So it's the exact same holster every time. It's just we change the belt attachment. So that's our inside the waistband. And then our outside the waistband, we have paddle style and also closed belt loop style. So two different ways that you can mount it onto your body. We cover, well, and both of those we try to do all in left and right hand. So I would say 90% of our models now come also in left-handed, both inside and outside the waistband. And right now we have about probably close to 80 different makes and models, to include, all the variances of Glock and all the different lengths of Glock and Smith & Wesson. I mean, it's pretty broad. Our
Mhm.
biggest request right now is more light bearing holsters, and those are kind of a pain to make, but we are constantly looking at what's being newly released. We feel like we're always playing catch up. We're now, I don't think we'll ever feel ahead of what happens in the gun industry as far as being ready when they are launching. So I kind of wish that there was a little bit of communication, because if we could launch a holster at the same time a new gun is released, it would just be so beneficial to the people that are actually buying the tools. But
Yes.
yeah, we try to react as quickly as we can based on what we see going on out there. We know that if SIG releases something, we probably better buy it. We probably better get it. We have a pretty in-depth, we've changed our process quite a bit, and we have to actually buy the real gun now, 3D scan it, we make a CAD file, our engineer then creates our molding out of aluminum. So our process is a little bit in depth, but it produces such great results for us and our really, really fast 3-day turnaround. So regardless of what print is on it or what style of holster it is, every order that comes in, we have it out the door within 3 days. And so, anyways, it's a little bit of a hassle, but in the end result, it gives our customers that fast turnaround that they love. So.
What is your turnaround? If I sent you an email today and said, I want to order this for this.
No, it's always 3 business days or less. So every single day. We do have a few real quick buy items that are listed on our website. They're Glock, SIG 365. They're all in black carbon fiber. Those are instant buys. Those are shipped within 2 hours. Other than that, everything's pretty custom in the sense that you get to pick your color, your pattern, you know, the entire setup of the holster, your attachments. But regardless of what you order, it will leave our shop 3 days later or less. We are like today and yesterday, we're running really ahead because we wanted to try to get anybody that thought about Mother's Day, we wanted it to land in their mailbox for their mom. So we really pushed hard. We actually,
I think though we're probably one of, for a custom side of things, there's obviously plenty of people out there that do black holsters.
we
Yeah,
are
which
the
are-
lead.
But I think we are the
yeah,
leading
turnaround.
for
Yeah.
custom.
That's absolutely amazing to me, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and we try to really have it blasted everywhere on our site, and we still get emails every day. What's your turnaround? What's your lead time? I don't want to order if it's going to take 7 weeks, and I gotta obviously make it bigger or something. But that is what we try to put ourselves into this whole Amazon Prime world. I always say we're the Chick-fil-A of holster makers, because we are fast and also really kind. So, and then we got we're trying to meet people where they are wanting to, nobody wants to wait for anything anymore. So we're trying to do our best in that.
That's pretty remarkable turnaround time, though. That's impressive.
Yeah.
Is everything you do kydex?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your next move? What is your next step? Are you guys running are you doing vacuum molding now? Are you
Yeah. Well, we heat in the t-shirt presses, which is pretty standard across the board. And anybody that wanted to watch our process, we don't hide anything. We actually have a lot of fun making behind the scenes videos. So you can go to our TikTok, Instagram, social media pages and just kind of dig through videos, and you'll get to see how we do what we do. So we heat it in a t-shirt press, we vacuum form everything, and then it goes right onto a CNC machine. And that's really what speeds up our time. So start to finish, we could have somebody walk in off the street and say, hey, any chance you guys make me a holster? And they can stand there and watch it, and we'll have it in their hands in 10 minutes. Well, depending on how much we talk while we're doing it. But I mean, if we are just like, we gotta make one holster, we're
and that's really what happened for us some years ago as well. There's like these little different little pinnacle moments, but one of them was obtaining this engineer that we got. And it just really stemmed from friendship. But he really revolutionized our system in the realm of CNC machines, because most people think CNC machines, and the majority of holster makers out there are using CNC machines to cut their holsters. However, they are cutting one singular holster at a time. Right. And we have the ability to really expand or retract the volume that we need to work at. So each one of our tables can cut 6 at a time. And so, you know, by the time we have 7 CNC machines in there right now, 7 times 6, that's 42 holsters. The time it takes to cut it, you're looking at about 1:30, right? So you can sort of see the volume that you can move up into. Whereas some people will have these big CNC machines, they have to open up the door, take their one thing out, and then reload it again. And then by that whole process goes through, you're looking at say 5 or 6 minutes to say load their next holster to be cut. Well, we're able to streamline that, right? Something's cutting constantly. If that makes sense, even though we have these different load times. So our engineer really helped transform that with the way that he thinks. He really peeled it all the way back to the way that we mold was going to be consistent as far as that whole thing, which was then going to tie into our tables as far as with our CNC machines and the way that we cut.
Yeah.
So do you pre-drill before you cut?
Yep. So once the in the mold itself, there's actually pins in the mold, 3 of them, that indicate where a hand drill or a punch is going to go. Once you punch out those 3 holes, that's really the only human touch that you could really foul up the holster at that point. Those 3 points are what gets fixed to a plate on the table, but it's consistent. It doesn't matter if you're doing an LCP, little tiny gun, or if you're doing a large frame gun, those holes translate basically no matter where you're going. And so that really made it easy. So the employee obviously punches out those 3 holes. Once they put it on the table, there's a code on the piece of plastic. All they have to do now, we can have a 12-year-old in there and really they type in the 4-digit code, it's going to cut the holster.
It's a skill set we don't have, but this engineer is a whole lot smarter than us. So it really has. It's really transformed our speed, really, and consistency. So once you have that process, that part of the process down, and you're kicking out the exact same product every single time, it just changes everything. So
yeah, and let me just caution this, because I know maybe some listeners or maybe other holster makers will listen to this. We get this question all the time. Oh, I need a CNC machine. And technically you don't, right? When you need a CNC machine is when you're trying to solve a problem having to do with, I cannot get my orders out in time. And so now time is an issue. We were making for, 5-6 years, we were making holsters and selling a lot of them, doing it by hand. But at some point we got to that plateau, of that time is money. And so that's when new holster makers should start thinking about that investment as far as going into that CNC machine.
That's something I can nerd out with you on. Most folks don't understand the processes that go into place to manufacture these things. I ran the police academy for the largest agency in Oklahoma for almost 10 years. And so I had a really big budget because I was buying equipment for all the brand new guys coming in. And I would always get approached by guys, hey, what about this? I got this product for you. I think this holster is better than what you've got. And I'd always tell them, give me 3 or 4 of them and we're going to T&E them. But I would explain what our T&E was also. Not only are we going to run them through and do stuff out at the range, I'm going to put them on belts. My DT guys are going to go to the gym and we're going to see where the weakness is.
Yeah.
And I was astounded all the time how many guys just were like, oh, hey, no, that's not what this is for. I was like, well, yeah, I got to keep it alive. And if you're not going to be party to that, then we're not going to even entertain the thought of looking at your stuff.
right.
But it's so cool. There's so many things out there. Now, do you guys do any law enforcement stuff? Are you just completely in the civilian market?
Yeah, I would say we're completely civilian. Obviously, we service plenty of military and law enforcement, but we really try to stay niche into, like we have not found the bottom of the barrel having to do with concealed carry market, right? And there might come a time when we're like, oh, we got to start doing something else, but our wheelhouse is concealed carry. And like from law enforcement, you start getting into level 2, level 3 stuff. To me, you really got to have your stuff dialed in, and I'm not trying to knock anybody who's doing a level 3 or a level 2 holster out there, but I know what those are used for, right? That guy's rolling around and dealing with somebody, and man, I would want to make sure, I hate to say, I want to leave it up to Safari Land and some of these people that really have good patents and things like that, that holster is remaining inside that thing. But I would never want to hear something bad like that happen with one of my holsters, at least in our
Absolutely.
control setting. So,
Well, it's one of those that, you were mentioning earlier, the numbers of requests that you're getting for lights. Can you do this? I want to put this light on, we'll put that light on. I really still always go back. We get questions like that mailed into us all the time. Do you know anybody that does this? And my first question is why?
Right.
What is your mission? You're not going to go clear a building. That's not what you're in this for. If it's nothing more than while I shoot Glock shooting sport competitions and for no other reason than I'm going to use it like an underlug for the extra weight or something.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're using it. I know that when I was on the streets, I always carried a weapon light for the last, 15 years or so, longer than that. But even still, when I went inside and was working a desk, I didn't have a light on my gun. I had a light available to me all the time, but I didn't carry it on my gun. And one of the things is a concealment holster. If I start building it out to accommodate all the extra little gadgets that we can go, now we can do a dot and we can safely do that. But as soon as I start opening that up, anything underneath the frame of the gun, I'm also exposing, because I have to make a channel that it'll fit through. And I also wind up exposing my trigger. So I'm not nearly as safe as what I'd like. And I think that's something that I really appreciate, is the fact that we've got guys like you all that are out there going, we got to keep this thing as safe and secure. And if you can't access the trigger at all, you really don't have anything more than a paperweight. It doesn't become dangerous until we can get that little hangy down thing and get something on it. So
yeah, we get a lot of wild requests, and we kind of wonder the same thing of why people are doing certain things. I can say that even just referring back to the law enforcement holsters or working with law enforcement, I think in business it's pretty smart to sort of understand where you're like who's your customer. And after looking at that in depth for ourselves, and even not just so much who's your customer, but what's your mission behind what you're doing, and what are you doing it for? And it really, really, truly is for a concealed carry. Honestly, it's to the people who don't know what gun they're carrying, because I can totally relate to not knowing what a sweat guard is and what any of the functions of the gun are. I was so clueless when I got on to try to order my first holster. I froze. I was overwhelmed by the questions, and it was like 3 questions, but I had no idea what I was being asked to decide in this initial order that I ended up canceling. But I've never forgotten what that feels like. And we get a lot of customers who ask questions that might seem very silly to people, but we don't believe that there's ever a silly question. If you're asking the question, it's because you have that same thing that I had in me. Joseph had it before he ever learned. Like, you want to know because you want ultimately to protect yourself and to never be a victim, whatever that develops to be. Hopefully none of us are ever required to ever pull our gun out. Like, that's, you're carrying something that hopefully you never have to use. But there's no silly question. And that, anyways, so I guess to just circle back around, that's our customer. That's where our passion is. That's where our heart is. And then, we get to help a lot of other people along the way. You asked what's next for us. I was going to touch on that a little bit. I guess it's been 6 years that we started Eclipse Holster 10 years ago. 6 years ago, we launched Holster Builder, which is our other company that we run right here in our shop. and it supplies all the parts and pieces to other holster makers. So we were buying our inventory and such that we were helping other people save on shipping. And we just were helping people, which turned into a business. So we accidentally made 2 businesses. But we really have found ways that we get to help teach other holster makers on that side. We've welcomed people into our shop to show our process. So then we're getting to help our end consumer and other holster makers who have also been in the tunnel that we have. So our desire, I think, to help people probably surpasses a lot of what all the other things that are going on. We recently launched a website on Holster Builder that's a vendor platform. And our eyes are kind of on this whole, like, where are people going to buy and sell things when the entire 2A community gets shut down off of everything? Amazon, Walmart, you name it. And so we started a couple years ago with this dream of this website that we're now really pushing. It's open now and it's pushing hard to allow any vendor who makes anything that has anything to do with holsters, knife makers, I mean, any leather, and it could be finished holsters. It could be you developed a belt attachment that you think everybody should have access to. Now this is a platform where people get to post to put it on there, and people can buy it, and it will never be regulated the way other places are when it comes to, you know, gun items. So we're doing that, and we are honestly kind of going backwards on the Eclipse side and starting to build in what it's like to buy a holster or buy a gun for the very first time, and refocusing back where we started 10 years ago. Who's that person out there? Because we see all these new gun owners, but how do they know what to even go and look at, and who do, you know, just any little tips we can offer on that. And then what holster might be right for me. It might not even be our holster, but we're going to have a lot of education on our website that says, here's all the areas that you can look. Here's the things to consider. There's no silly question. Here's what a sweat guard is. We have people all the time that say, do you have a holster for my 9mm? I mean, these are men and women emailing us. And then now all of our staff knows, they respond very kindly, but the amount of people that we have to ask, send us a photo of their gun because they don't know where to even look on the slide to tell them. And a lot of times it's not even a 9mm. It could be, well, you have a 380 and it's, you know, this. So that we've educated our staff on it. Everybody treats everybody with kindness, you know, with emails and all these things, but kind of refocusing back again to why it all started in the beginning and who can we help now along that way. So,
well, I love that you're addressing the people that they're invested enough in their own personal protection that they know what they know and they know what they don't know, and they know to ask the questions.
Sure, yeah.
You know, it's almost the reason that I don't even go. I try to avoid public ranges as much as I possibly can, just because of the things that you see on the line inside a range, and it's just like, who told you that was a good idea? I saw John Wick do it, so it's got to be great.
Well, yeah.
And it's so incredibly troubling to me. But to be intelligent enough to know, I don't know this. I need to reach out to the people that do. I need to, you know, is this something I even need? You know, nobody knows until you know.
And we're big believers that, I mean, as much as we, obviously we're in the business of selling holsters, but, and we believe in the Second Amendment, but we also believe fully that not everybody needs to carry. And or should carry, I should say, whatever it is. Is it their right to carry? Absolutely. But people, like what you just said, need to take a hard look and go, okay, if this is something that I want to do, I'm all about, you should have some training behind it. It's a piece of equipment that can obviously cause a lot of harm. There's a lot of misconceptions on it and things like that. And so get proper training. Don't just, oh, well, I guess I can drive. It's my right to drive, and yet you have never gotten behind the wheel before, whatever it is. You go out and buy a car or something like that. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and at least we've required you to show at least some level of proficiency to operate a motor vehicle on our roads.
Right.
I don't, you know,
It'd be nice. It'd be nice.
It's just
It's probably quiet the noise on a lot of these bad mistakes that end up happening out there. That then, of course, just throws nothing but harm and negativity towards this firearm, which really has nothing to do with it. Has to do with the person that's behind it that is doing bad things. So.
yeah.
Well,
For sure.
I wish that other people could see even just this conversation here with three people who have a lot of experience with guns, have been around a lot of people with them, and we still also agree that there should be specific requirements. Like, we're not, there's this whole, I think there's a lot of misconceptions, not to go so deep on that, but just that we all could care less and everybody should just be wielding a gun and be out there doing whatever you want. We all don't agree with that either. I mean, that I constantly tell people that, to include my own parents, who completely support what we do, but I don't think they'll ever conceal carry. If you knew the people that were in the grocery store with you that might be concealed carrying, it'd probably surprise you how many people you're walking around with, because the real truth of the people that are passionate and in this whole kind of circle with us don't ever make a statement about it at all. You'll never know that they're carrying. Now, we might notice the way they're carrying their shirt. You might notice a little thing and do the little head nod of like, I see you. We aren't out there trying to make a point for anybody to see it. I get this question a lot with our holsters that we make, because everything is, you can put any pattern you want on it now. It's kind of a fun realm for us to be in. And this whole like, well, why in the world would you ever make a holster that's neon, or why do you need flowers on it? I mean, I say, why do you wear a white, what, are you only wearing white underwear? Like, what color are your socks that you're wearing? Like, it's about you. Nobody sees it, but like, why can't you? The idea is that nobody's going to see it. Well, if nobody sees it, why? Because we can, because we want to. Yeah.
Because it's my choice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep.
Why do you carry a Glock? Why don't you carry a SIG?
Right. Yeah.
Great. I still can't believe you just went out and bought your wife a gun. At least you got a small gun.
At least I got a small gun. We see so many people. The girl comes in to get her first holster, and we're like, "Oh, pull it out!" And here's this little itty bitty 5'2" girl, and she's pulling out this full size, Beretta or something like that. I'm like, "Come on, that wasn't your choice. That wasn't your choice at all."
They got a Langdon.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah, I know who wants that gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's bad. I remember, this is a little side thing, but I was just thinking about Glock, and then it reminded me think when I was first making holsters, he had bought this Smith & Wesson M&P shield, which I continually said over and over and over. I looked for a holster for it. I knew I had a shield, and I still thought every gun was a Glock. I started making holsters for other people, and I thought every gun was a Glock. The learning curve that had to come into this brain, and then to find out that Glock had 30 other different types of Glock. I mean, it was the pain. And now you could lay out, we got, I don't know how many guns we have lay out every day for our final retention. And I mean, I could close my eyes. You could just, all of us in the shop, you could just close your eyes. You can touch and feel. All you have to do is touch one part of it. You're like, I know exactly what that is. But I had no idea that I had no business starting a business, because I had no idea what I didn't know, but here we are today. So.
I'm telling you, I'm still just always so impressed with the folks in Lisa's shop. The exact same thing. I mean, you can blindfold them and they go, "Oh yeah, that's da 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 da."
Yeah.
And to go down the shield line, how many different variations has Smith & Wesson put out of this same little gun? And it's like,
yep.
Well,
and why
yes.
every SHOT Show we sort of dread of what's coming out this year that we're gonna have to make sure we scramble and get
Yes.
quickly. But
Yeah,
I guess everybody's always calling me.
that you were mentioning the evolution and the new firearms are coming out and the changes in firearms and things like that. And I think that's something a lot of people don't also understand is how much work goes on, not just with you guys selling your products at SHOT or wherever you're setting up, but the networking and having to go around and going, hey, this is who we, this is what we do. What do you have new? What do we need to be ready for? What do we need to see? That's such a big deal. And, you know, obviously we're in, I don't know, I think we're in just an amazing time period as far as the handguns that are available to us, and the improvements. I mean,
Yeah, I think
there's a
safety
lot of good
features,
stuff.
yeah, safety features and things that are coming available are great. I remember back, shoot, it was just 20 years ago that the red dot was coming out, you know, and you had these old timers who are like, we'll never use that because that's going to fail and all this other stuff. But man, look at all what it's done as far as helping new shooters and helping them be more accurate and things like that. And they fixed all these problems, you know, in that scheme of where the, you know, say the battery would die out on and things like that, and that it still has illumination and things like that. So anyways, technology, all these things as they sort of go hand in hand with these decisions, whatever it is, I think are always going to enhance the products moving forward for sure.
Well, and those of us that were the ones giggling and making fun of guys, you're doing what? You're shooting at dot?
Yeah.
You know, for the longest time, I'd make fun and say, you know, it's going to be like me owning a stick shift. You can't steal my car now because you don't know how to drive it.
Yeah, right. That's right.
You can't use my gun. You don't know how to use irons.
Yeah.
But I'm also at that age that my eyesight is failing. And guess what?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also understand that you can't buy better scores on the range. You gotta actually invest the time, and that's where those things come. It's not the, you know, obviously if you can play a $200 guitar, you can play a $1,200 guitar, but
Yeah,
if
right.
you play a guitar at all, it doesn't matter which guitar I put in your hand, you're not going to be able to play.
That's right.
That's just the way it works. So you've got a couple of websites, you got a couple businesses. How do our people find you and see where you're at? How do they get to you? Let's show them how to.
Well, eclipseholsters.com is our website, which is, you know, the best place to go and make purchases. We have a live chat on, so if it's Monday through Friday, there's always somebody sitting at a desk here that can jump onto a question quickly. So if they're on and they're searching and not quite sure what to do, we try to have that answered. If the chat box is on, we have it answered within a minute or so. So that's a good resource. Our phone number is also on our website, and there's always somebody here answering phones Monday through Friday. Outside of our direct website link, we are really big on, I shouldn't say really, really big. We're really into doing things on social media. So it's a great place to see all of our patterns and prints actually in a finished product, in our pictures that we display, lots of fun videos. So LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Clapper, Pinterest, Facebook, pretty much everything, except I'm not really doing anything on Twitter. I don't know how to tweet, but anyways, yeah, so that's for Eclipse to buy a finished product. Our holster builder website is holsterbuilder.com. That's parts and pieces, but that's also where you would find our vendor account. And we haven't found anybody that wants to sell something that we decided, that's not a good fit. We love to see what people have created. I mean, it could be a wallet,
or maybe you want a leather holster. And
yeah, yeah, we have leather makers on there. People have put first aid kits on there. Lots of other defense type tools. We have a lot on Eclipse too, but you can customize your own products on there. But it's kind of a cool place to go where you're looking for even accessories for your holster. I carry a lot, but Holster Builder is a supply company, and there's a lot more that they offer on there, that if you want to go try a belt attachment or something. So it's kind of, I'm spoiled in the sense of inventory as far as Eclipse goes, though, because our supply company is our shop and we just walk right over and grab our kydex. So that helps with our 3-day turnaround. because the inventory is sitting here for Holster Builder and it supplies all of Eclipse. So we don't run out of anything ever. Ever. So we've built two things that really go well with each other. And like you were saying, it's funny in the holster industry. I think a lot of holster makers probably don't realize that we own both companies. But when we first launched and we kind of announced, hey, we're branching off, or we're adding this, and check us out on Holster Builder, it actually caused a little bit of firestorm in there, because holster makers didn't want to buy from us because we were holster makers. Well, I'm not going to give you my money. Not that we're asking, like, we're just like, hey, we're helping you out. We're going to do some free shipping and try to offer some. What we did is we took the big pieces of kydex and cut it down to the sizes we knew holster makers were using. We just started changing the distributor side of it to be more helpful for people, because we knew what it felt like. And so we ended up, a lot of people buy from us, and some people, I mean, they are like, I will not support another holster company, and I know you're married, so forget it. So it's funny. I mean, either way, but
Hilarious, actually.
yeah,
Even though I can get it cheaper from you,
right.
you do this, so I'm gonna go over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. Have you guys got any shows coming up? Anything you're doing, or do you guys?
We're gonna walk the show. We're gonna walk Blade Show here because we think that we'll make that being a part of our yearly thing. So Blade Show East Coast. There's also a Blade Show West Coast.
And that's primarily from the holster builder side. We're hoping
I
to
see what you're saying,
make
yeah.
connections.
Yep.
But yeah, that will be there on the floor to see what it's like, and then maybe have a booth next time.
Yeah.
The only show we ever really do once a year that's big is SHOT Show. But we're trying to. Well, we've never done the NRA show either, and I think we've decided we can't be missing out on these anymore. So even if we just go just to network and meet people without having a table, I think there's a lot of value in that.
I'm going to tell you, we have had absolute amazing success at NRA.
Oh, good. Okay.
What next year is Dallas, and the year after is Atlanta. So
Okay.
big locations, big crowds.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, and we are going to, of course, share this when you have a link with all of our followers as well. And so can you add in your company and how they can find you, or is that already on your, I imagine that's going to be on the link as well, but we definitely want to share about what you do and the value that you bring to this whole thing.
We also do Facebook, IG, and YouTube, couple of different podcast platforms and things like that. But I will absolutely send it to you guys and give you the dates that we post. And we'd be honored if you put it out there as well. So, and thank you guys so much for jumping on. Kind of a little quick chance meeting, and I was impressed with your stuff at SHOT Show, and I think there's a lot of our viewers out there we have a lot of new gun owners. So I try to get as many folks across that can expose them to the ins and outs of the industry. And it's not just about shooting the gun. There's so many other moving parts to this that make us all successful and help us carry safely. So I want to thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you for having us. Yeah, it's good.
I'd like to tell everybody thanks for tuning in. And as always, you can reach me directly. I am Rob, R-O-B, at ccwsafe.com. Thank you so much. We will see you guys next time. Thanks.